The Cat in the Hat live-action movie is a fever dream. This movie is pure insanity and recently blew up for its horror. And while me being me, I wanted to make a theory. So I rewatched it and oh my god. Inside this movie contains a conspiracy. One that explains thing 1 and thing 2 and what they are, what the kids are gonna be, and what the Cat in the Hat is. Let me explain. Okay, let's look at this film and what exactly is going on inside it. Well, at first, a fever dream. If you take apart the actions of the cat and reframe your perspective, the movie becomes a horror. This is all because of one question. Why is the cat here?
How did you get here?
I drove!
The cat is using an obvious excuse, but that just raises a bigger question. How did it get here, and why? Well, looking at the events before this scene, there is one thing I can think of. Conroy. This kid is a troublemaker, a rule breaker, and the entire film is showing that. And he only appears when he is breaking a rule, and once he's here, his goal is to encourage rule breaking and get Sally, his good sister, to be like Conroy. The cat literally has a device to measure how much someone breaks the rules, so we know for sure something about his nature is related to chaos and not following directions. But that's obvious, the film blatantly says that. What it doesn't say, though, is why. Well, that lies in the contract. In the very start of the film, the cat makes the kids sign a legally binding contract, forcing them to have all the fun they want with nothing bad ever happening. It's manic like the movie, but also in a different perspective, very disturbing. The cat is literally forcing these children into a contract with him that he throughout the movie references and uses to physically force them to have fun by breaking the rules. And this idea of controlling the kids is very prevalent in the movie. Not only does he make them sign the contract without reading it, he also doesn't let them see other adults. And not just their mom, but the literal babysitter. As soon as he sees her, he sits on top of her and then throws her in the closet, because he knows any rational adult would stop this. But again, why is he doing this? Why is he randomly appearing in these kids' home, isolating them from adults, and getting them legally under him, all to just cause chaos? Well, like I said, it's all about Conroy. The entire movie is him obsessing over the kid and twisting his bad actions and chaos further and further, using exactly what he knows will get him, like telling him not to do something or bringing up how fun something will be, just so he can get worse and worse. He also knows a lot about Conroy, since he knows he's going to military school because he uses it against him. Now, if you've noticed, all these things aren't really a theory, they're just parts of the movie that are weird, but altogether they build my theory. I believe the Cat in the Hat is a parasite, one attracted to the pure existence of chaos and rule breaking from his own dimension, and once he finds someone with the traits Conroy himself possesses, he drains them of their life force to further his. Let me explain. Parasite, an organism that uses another to further its life. This is the simplest definition, and I believe the Cat in the Hat is one. But why? Well, look at the movie. Throughout all of the movie, the cat is doing insane reality warping things, and if you pay attention, they get crazier and crazier the more the kids disbehave, especially when they both do it. The cat feeding on the chaos energy makes perfect sense when you look at his home. The guys are in a dimension of pure insane absurdity, but also a place without humans, so it makes sense why he'd go to another world to feed on the true pure chaos of, well, children. But with all that, so what? What danger really can there be in the cat feeding on chaos? Sure, he encourages rule breaking, but by the end of the movie, the kids do have a good life and make up with their mom. I just don't see anything bad about the outcome, just all the horrifying stuff before. That's until you listen to one thing. The one thing in this movie that is rational and holds the true opinion we all have. The fish. In the movie, there is a fish that suddenly appears just like the cat, or at least gains the ability to speak, acting as a pure foil to our chaotic feline. He constantly tells the kids to get away from him and lists out how weird the cat is. This gets to the point where I worry, and also question how the fish knows all of this, or how it got here in the first place. These are all questions I will answer in a minute, but first I want to share a few lines from an actual Dr. Seuss book from the fish that truly shows just how scary the cat is. No, make that cat go away. Tell that that cat in the hat you do not want to play. He should not be here. He should not be about. He should not be here when your mother is out. He should not be here. For the cat is out of place. It does not belong in his world and is truly something outside of morality and human understanding. We know this. The fish knows this. But what does it want? Has gaining power or chaos? What is the cat's true goal? Because at first you would think it is just chaos, rule breaking to an endless extent, but there is one line that tells me something deeper. In the third act of the movie, the cat says to himself if he should pick plan C and ditch the plan and the kids. This makes me have a bunch of questions. What is plan A or B? Why is he here other than just cause chaos? Because he is very much doing that. No, for him to move on to plan C, leaving, he must be failing at his core plan. And wow, in this movie, he seems to be failing at converting Conroy and Sally. I mentioned before how the cat is very much taking a liking to Conroy, turning him towards the path of chaos, but he also is very much trying to get him to go home with him, to his dimension. Whether reminding him of military school or how bad his boring life is, or just putting his basically door to his world right in front of him, he's tempting the kid to leave. He tries to with Sally as well, but gives up, or at least knows who his tension is truly for. This doesn't really make sense though if he's just here for power or to drain chaotic energy. No, he must want the kids themselves for some reason. Then I realize he wants two small children. One a rule breaker who does the opposite of everything he's told, and the other one he wants to be a rule breaker and do the opposite. No, it can't be that. No, right?
The things always do the opposite of what you say.
Remind you of anyone, Conrad?
Dear God.
Zinga!
He's turning them into them. The things. These two chaotic creatures of havoc appear in the middle of the movie, brought in by the cat that cleans the house. Except they have one weird quirk where they do the opposite of what you say. This raises a lot of questions. What are they? Why do they do the opposite, but also still follow whatever you say if you worded the opposite of what you want? Well, I have a theory, and it may sound like a stretch, but I promise you it makes so much sense. The kids are the things, or well, the things are kids. And the kids in the movie will become things 3 and 4, or things 29 and 30, since in the books, there are references to more things, more on that later. Now, on the surface level, there is some obvious stuff that proves this. The things look like kids, they are the same height and size, and kind of look in the weird skin tone and colors of their body, like the cat drained them of their life force and purity, making them pure white and uncanny abominations. But that's surface level stuff, and not the bombshell you probably want. So, let's go deeper. The cat really wants Conroy and Sally to go home to his dimension. He really wants them to defy order, to disobey, and do the opposite of what they're supposed to do. But he forces them to do so with the contract, which feels eerily similar to what the things have to do. They are forced to do the opposite of what you say, making them obedient, controllable. And just maybe that's because they're under contract as well, and that contract doesn't end. To push it further though, the things are not humanized. They are seen as objects, things, and the cat in a way dehumanizes and most importantly de-kidifies the kids, makes them sign contracts even though children shouldn't be doing that, separates them from their family, and pushes Sally to forget morals because fun is above that. Really, looking at everything, it just feels like it has to be canon. The cat is obviously trying to push the kids to be worse and worse till he can turn them into the things and use their contract to make them his slaves forever. But that doesn't solve one thing: the fish. What is going on with this damn fish? Well, I think it's the alternative path for Sally. See, the cat is an analogy for Conroy in a way, not for the theory but for themes. Then the fish is for sure Sally. They both act uptight, uncool in the eyes of the cat, and obviously are agents of order. So maybe that is tied to the theory itself. What if the fate for Sally, if the cat failed to turn only one of the twins into a thing, is for her to become an agent against him, attracted to order and fighting against the cat's plans? This is all just a side theory though, because really, there is one problem with the main theory, the biggest issue that happens in the last 30 seconds of the film that I really wanted to ignore. The cat literally ends the movie by revealing he is the narrator of it, and in return knows he is in a movie and is making it. Why? Well, let me explain. If you like the theory so far, please subscribe so you can see more like this, especially because I'm about to start a series on solving different Pixar films, so subscribing with notifications means you won't miss it. Either way, back to the video. The Propaganda Theory. I believe this movie is being manufactured by the cat himself. We already know he is filming things and is the narrator. My theory though is it's all propaganda. It is fundamentally designed to paint certain things as a certain way for the children in this town. If you look at the movie itself, it constantly shows adults as the bad guys. Whether it's the mom or the evil boyfriend, it paints the fish as annoying even though he's the only one trying to stop everything. And by the end of the movie, it tells us that jumping on the couch was actually a good thing, that breaking rules is what you need to do. This is a clearly designed version of reality from the cat to convince other kids to be bad, so he can do his plan. That's why he gave up on converting our twins into things, because the movie is the real tool for conversion. The kids were just a bonus. But why is he doing this on such a massive scale? There has to be tons of kids in this town, so why make an entire movie when he could just keep doing what he did with Conrad? Well, take a closer look at the town. It's stale and completely void of life. Everyone follows the rules, and the most likely reality is that rule breaking just isn't common here. Most kids are truly perfect, which would explain why the chaos and energy inside these kids feed the cat so much. His own world contains all the chaos he could ever want, but this one doesn't, and that is the true reason it's so powerful, the rarity. And while the outcome of draining the kids, he has some extra servants on the side to further his corruption, his twisted morality that he spreads like a virus till everyone is no longer human, but just a thing. If you like this theory, I have more coming out, along with the playlist on screen for my previous best theories. Either way, bye.